All right, so you've written your book. You've got it to the best possible version of a book that you can get. What are your next steps that will take you from final draft of your book to published book held in your own hands? I want to talk you through this very quickly. So we're going to make the assumption that you've had a beta reader, maybe you've had a manuscript appraisal, you've sent it to friends, you've worked on your book for as long as you can, you've got it to the draft that you think is the best that you can do. Now we're going to talk of what happens in the self-published option, because if you are sending a book to a publisher, they will handle everything. But if you want to be indie or self-published, you are going to approach a publisher that will help you and shepherd you in this process of getting the book from this Word document into a finished product with a cover, etc. So the very first step is they're going to give you a quote, okay? And the quote will comprise of a number of things. It will comprise of an editor. It will comprise of layout and design. It will comprise of a cover design, what do you want the actual cover to look like. The quote will include then proofreading. It will include the production. So all these things that help you get a book from a Word document into a laid out, designed product. And then there will be a second component to the quote, and that component is going to be what will it cost you then to print 100 copies, 200 copies, 500 copies. This is separate because not everybody wants to print a book. Some of us want it to go on Amazon Print on Demand or on that sort of platform. We'll get to that shortly. Let me talk you through the quote and what you're in for next. If you sign it off, whatever it may be, there can be high, it can be low, it can be anywhere in between. The first step is you're going to hand your full manuscript as a Word document to the assigned editor. The editor is probably going to be the single largest cost on your quote, because this is an individual and quite a skilled individual who's going to take your manuscript and work systematically through it over a process of, I'm going to estimate, between 4 and 8 weeks. And they're going to make it better. So that's the brief to an editor, to make it better. And there's various degrees to which they can make it better. You can have a junior editor who fixes your spelling and your continuity. You can have a senior editor who does a lot more and says flow and sense and can you change things, or you can have a very senior structural editor who actually takes your book and significantly changes it for you. So that's up to you and what you're prepared to spend. The editor will make 4 weeks later or 8 weeks later is going to send you back a document with lots of comments, a whole load of the work actually done, and a whole load of suggestions. So you're going to have an opportunity then to go through the manuscript again, reply to the comments. It may be things like, are you sure this is the year 1992? I Googled it and it seems to be this was actually 1862. Have you got the dates wrong? Okay, so little fact checks. To they've deleted whole sections of your book, or they've asked you to write in big sections of your book. You're going to have an opportunity to go through that again. Not too long, maybe 2 weeks, and send it back to them. There's one more revision where they're going to kind of fix it up, final comments, and then you're signing your book off. That means that this version, this Word document, is done and dusted. You will not really have an opportunity to make any changes. From the editor, when that's signed off, your book goes into layout or typesetting. And that means a very technical person is going to take your chapters and lay them out on the page so that they actually, there's page numbers, there's headings, there's line breaks, there's different fonts for chapter beginnings, etc. So that's what typesetting is. Maybe that takes a few weeks. 2 weeks can be less. You will say, I like this kind of font. I don't like this. I like it smaller, bigger, serif, sans serif. It's not a complicated process, and they're going to send it to you. You're going to say, that looks nice, done, and they're going to then do the whole book. If you've got images, it's a longer and more expensive, complicated process, but generally a memoir, a novel, even a non-fiction chapter-based book, it's a fairly straightforward process. The next step is what we call proofreading. Very important. This is not to be confused with editing. What a proofreader does, and I'm looking around if I've got a manuscript for you, a proofreader gets a version of the book which is bound and typeset, and it's exactly as it should look on the page, and it's got the print marks, etc., and they read through the book. They're going to pick up things like final typos or spelling mistakes, but final. They're going to pick up things like the page break is not right here and it should break there. They're going to pick up things like wrong page number or the same heading, chapter headings being repeated. So we're really talking about a process that is incredibly detail orientated. The person is looking for little words, little line breaks, little weightings are wrong. They are not reading your book for sense or for information. So be clear on that. At this point, you can also do that. So any tiny little things that are wrong, you will pick up. You'll also proofread the cover. So you'll go over, is there a spelling error on my cover? You can't believe how often that happens. Okay, so that's the content of the book. And then you will sign that off. And when you have signed those proofs off, so they're called proofs, that is it. There are no more changes to be made. It will go to the printer once those corrections are made as is. So you want to be certain you've ticked every little box and been a detail-orientated checker of that, and that you've asked the professional proofreader to do that as well. At the same time, what's going to happen is your cover is going to be designed and your back cover, and that's a straightforward process. You're going to have a few approvals. So there's two things that are going to happen. There's the inside of your book, and there is the cover. And then they will come together only at the end. It's very important because it depends on how big and how many pages to how wide the spine of the book may be, right? It may be tiny, it may have to be this big. So those are last minute adjustments. And this is, of course, as you can see, full color, and the inside is a black and white process. So when those two come together, you've got a print ready cover. You've got a print ready PDF for the inside of the book. They come together. They're always actually held as separate files, by the way. But those two things are what are going to make up your book. Those two things can either go to a printer and they're going to print them for you anywhere in the world. Or those two things, the cover and the inside of your book, are going to be loaded onto Amazon, onto print on demand, and you're going to sell it digitally, or you're going to sell it where people can print it anywhere in the world. So that's just what you are looking at. How long does this process take? Around about 6 months. From the second you hand that book to an editor, to the moment that you have this final book in your paws, in your hands, you're looking at around about 6 months, give or take. Don't quote me on that. So you're now a little bit aware of the next few steps of the publishing journey. Good luck with that.